Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Portsmouth Coffee Talks morning show. Every day we rise, it's a great day to be alive. And if you're watching us live today on Facebook or YouTube, please like, subscribe, and comment, if you will, and share our show today. Today, this morning, we have the original host up here. There's several different shows. We have different guests up here, but this morning we have the original host, and we're going to talk about some of today's topics. And good morning, by the way, everybody. Leah Drake Stith
Good
and Thomas the
morning.
Colonel Chapman.
Good
All right.
morning.
Oh, good morning.
It's Monday morning, and it's showing on all of us.
It is. It really is.
I know I can feel it, but anyway, we're here as every Monday as promised. But I want to start off. It was last week, but we all saw that OJ died, and it was kind of strange. I want to get your all's take on that. I remember if I go back to that day when he was found not guilty, and it was strange because I was at a planning commission meeting, and it was right before we were going out to the public meeting. We always have the meetings ahead of time, and it happened to be a TV back there, and it was interesting to see the difference. We had some black people that were on staff, and out of the seven planning commissions, I think it was three of us that were black, and the difference in the reactions and being in the kind of setting we were kind of cool with it. We didn't. You saw some shows where black people just went off and cheering and everything, and you could see the opposite on the white faces of people. And inside, we kind of showed our pleasure and seeing, and it came down, and then we went out and just did our business. But it was definitely a divide in the way people felt about that verdict. And I think what a lot of people said, well, he had a good lawyer, and the prosecution was got out lawyered per se.
Hmm.
And a lot of people said, it was just refreshing to see someone, a black person, get acquitted for something that he may or may not have done. We just seeing the justice system working that way for the first time. Especially a black man killing a white woman and a white man. And later on, I think a lot of people, you know, could see the evidence might have been he probably had done it. And then he comes out with this book, If I Did It. you know, so do you all remember where you were when that verdict came out, or how you felt about it? Did you feel like you was guilty from the get? But you were more concerned about, is this black man gonna get railroaded like most before that happened, like most black people get in the justice system?
Colonel?
Well, to this day, I believe he did it. He had better lawyers. He had more slick lawyers. And if you look at over time, it exposes the difference in the justice system, because if you have money, you have more rights and you can get away with it, and you can buy better lawyers to get you off of things that you have done. And then, so to his dying day, I still think he did it, but he got away
I
with it.
think a lot of black people eventually thought he did it, and might initially thought he did it, because if you watch the trial, like you said, Colonel, he just had good lawyers that could, put a doubt, and all you need is a reasonable doubt, you
Yeah.
know, in the minds of the jury, and his lawyers, put that reasonable doubt in the mind. But even with all the evidence coming up, if you're watching the trial, it certainly looked like he did it. I mean, all the things, sort of went towards, man, this guy, even though he had those good lawyers, but if you really watching the trial, you can see some things that look like he did it. When he tried on that glove he had on, he didn't try him on his bare hands. He already had on plastic gloves or something like that. over top. So, naturally it wasn't going to fit. So,
I'm thinking that it wasn't so much as to whether blacks felt that he was guilty or not guilty. Coming off of the incident with Rodney King, and
right,
seeing
right
how
around that time. Yeah.
cops were in California at that time, I think the corruption of the cops played a part in the whole guilty or not guilty scene. Some of the things that they did was unethical, and all of that was brought to light. And I really think it was the fact of, as the colonel has said, the system. The system had been so corrupt against people of color that it was just refreshing to see a person of color be able to beat the system. So it really wasn't so much whether he was, I felt that he did it as well, but the fact of the matter is, when you look at how the cops handled the entire situation, it really gave you a different sense of um, how the system works. It was all about the system, I think, at that time, especially after the death of Rodney, after not the death, after the beating of Rodney King,
Yeah, and those cops got off
and they
scot
got
free,
off.
and we actually sat there and watched what they did, and
Exactly,
they still walked. So yeah, that
exactly.
had a big part to play on, I think, in most people's mind. We just wanted to see justice, and
Hmm.
even in that professional setting I was in,
That's
I
right.
mean, it was right down the racial lines. We were elated, you know, and it was just strange. Right after that, you could see the look on their faces. And then we had to
Hmm.
go out there and do that business of the planning commission. That was just kind of strange to me how we went from that to, doing our business. I guess that showed our commitment to what we were doing. So,
Which,
but anyway,
which is
go ahead.
also a reflection of how even today, when you have money like Donald Trump, when you have money, how you're able to just work the system to your benefit. Many of the privileges that's been offered to him throughout this whole ordeal would not have been offered to a person of color. I even think if it's a person of color with money, I don't think that he will be afforded the opportunities that have been afforded to Trump throughout this whole business of all of these charges which have been brought against him, and the things that he's been allowed to do to the court system that you would have been put in jail a long time ago based upon some of the things he has done and said about those involved in the court system.
That's a true statement because one we have a weak attorney general, and then we have a former president has put a bunch of crooked judges in office, to include three of them on the Supreme Court. Got one down there in Florida, Cannon, that shouldn't be on the bench, is unqualified, and is also in the pocket, is a political judge. And the justice system should not work that way. But it goes back to the other thing when you talk about Rodney King and beating up a black man. That has been our history, and one of the problems is that we have laws on the books like qualified immunity that gives these cops the rights to beat up people of color and get away with it, and they've been doing it for decades now. And until we get rid of laws like that, qualified immunity, uh, uh, and immunity, and then take away some of the things from the gun lobbies, that you make people that shoot and kill people liable for it, and also the gun lobby liable for it, maybe the gun dealers liable for it that haven't done these background checks and sell unlimited number of guns out here to the public. We won't change. But how you change that? You got to get 60 senators in the Senate, 60 Democrat senators, true Democrats, Democratic senators, and keep the House, and have the presidency. Until that happens, nothing changes in this world. And when Trump right now who has 51% of the population voting for him, comes back to office in January 25, it's going to get worse. We
Exactly.
have not seen worse yet. They've already told you they want to put us back to the 1940s, and it will be a form of slavery out here. We won't be able to have this show by February of next year because we won't be able to say anything against the Republicans, and you won't be able to say anything against the Trump administration. We cannot have that because they will come after us. Because all freedom rights of speech in the press, they'll be all gone by February. 2 weeks after, 2 weeks after he takes office, everything will cease.
And that's so true, Colonel. And we talked in the past about messaging, and I just have to bring up that Trump visit to the Atlanta Chick-fil-A, and
Oh my God.
how much that was a setup,
Please.
how much that was a setup. The lady that said all this stuff, and what she did when she mentioned Morehouse and Spelman, and then Spelman and Morehouse came right back with a statement saying that Morehouse and Spelman does not support Trump. And I was glad they did that immediately, because she dropped those names and she went, if you go on, if you look at Spelman, Morehouse, Morris Brown, and Clark Atlanta, you got all those 4 universities right there together. You go on those campuses, you're going to find 5 or 6 students that's going to be willing to go in there and stand there like they for Trump. So, but to get in there like she did, and did everything she did, and then call out those HBCUs like that, I was so glad to see them respond right away. And if anybody watching this, and it's getting to the point now, and Colonel, you do this a lot, we have to call the people that fall for that. We just have to call it like it is. I mean, they're absolutely fools if they fall for that kind of theatrical things that Trump does. Definitely a setup to make it look like it's a random. Oh, let me go and stop by Chick-fil-A in Atlanta. And I'll just happen to have some cameras with me. But this was a random stop, and this lady just happened to be in there. Found out that she used to work for this organization that Candace Owens had, and she's been a Republican advisor for years. So, but yet, it's going to be some people out there that's going to watch that, some Black folks that's going to watch that and say, "Oh, okay, Trump is the guy." Because he gave milkshakes and chicken sandwiches to us Black folks. Isn't that amazing how how easy I think it would be for the Democrats to come back with a different kind of messaging, but they just let that kind of stuff go out there, and it's a lot of people that's falling for it.
And plus, with him surrounded by Secret Service, she would not have been able to easily have just gone up to him like that. You could tell from day one that it was a setup, arranged as he arranged all these things, all these AI pictures that he's putting out here now of him surrounded by Black people. All of it is a setup to have those Blacks who are a little disenchanted with the Democratic Party to feel as though there are Blacks who are in support of Donald Trump. A man who says that Black people are supporting him now because they can identify with him having a mug shot. A man who has some gold, foolish looking sneakers with his name on it. And that's the reason why Blacks are going to support him, because of these crazy sneakers that he's put out there. It's all such a farce. But then to hear the number of Blacks who are supporting him, according to the polls, is so disheartening to see this taking place. And to hear they did a thing on Black men and the Republican Party, and one of the black rappers saying, well, it's better to be with the devil that you know than to be with the devil that you don't know. At least we know what Trump stands for. You knew what he stood for at that time that he was in office because he was surrounded by a contingency of individuals who kind of pulled the rein in on him. Should he get back in, he would not have those people around him. Those
Mhm.
very people who had around him, all of those individuals are not supporting him in his run for the election this time. This time, he will be surrounded by yes men who will say, whatever you want, it is okay with us. There would not be anyone to pull in the reins on him. So I hope that we are not fooled into believing these things that they're putting out here, the AI pictures or all of this bit about black folks supporting him because he has a mug shot. I mean, which is a slap in the face of black people to think that you can't think beyond a mug shot or some crazy sneakers. And this is the reason why you support someone for office. I just find it very offensive.
So who do
Yes.
we go after? I mean, will we look at those blacks that for Trump lost causes or something like that? As us, we have a platform here, and I think we use it quite well as far as trying to mix our opinions with facts that are really out there. And each one of us are good for giving our opinions plus trying to point out what's real. So where should our concentration really be? I think boots on the ground is always good, going to door and things like that. But, should we waste, no, I don't want to say waste our energy, but should we use up our energy trying to get to those black folks that are bamboozled, misled, and paid, some of them, a lot of them are paid, or should we just make sure we concentrate on those people that didn't vote last time, or that I mean, who do we where do we put our focus? And just talking about us with this platform, where do we put our focus? I mean, we can point out certain things, but because this is what we do now. We use this platform to try to inform, and share information from the guests that come on here. So where should our focus be? Because fools like that that were in Atlanta like that, I mean, some of them might be a lost cause if they're paid or if their mind is just warped.
I think we just have to keep debunking information, false information. As we hear it, I think we need to bring it to the attention of those who may be listening to the crazy things that are being said and done. And as best we can to keep debunking that information and trying to put as much truth out there as we can. And not really swaying things based upon our opinion, but really putting truth to the ground. I think that's most important.
Yeah. And our opinions are important too, because
Hmm.
it might be a lot of people, the opinions we have that feel the same way. So
Yes,
I think
yes.
it's a good mix, but you got to put that truth out there. Yeah.
Got to put the truth out there.
Yes. And you have to call it out because,
Yeah.
everybody knows, and it is a well-known fact that Mr. Trump is a stone cold racist. And if we put him back in office, and I say we because the black folks that don't vote for him by abstention, and then you'll have a great part of the white population or the MAGA people will vote for him just because they think he's going to help him, but he's going to screw them at the same time. Uh, he will put on his cabinet and throughout the federal government, and he will weaponize it of every Klansman that either wears a hood or does not wear a hood. They will be in office, and they were coming after us to turn us back to the 50s. And then so I could say that I don't even put it past us to go back to have the separately equal days and the two bathrooms, black and white. going way back in the 40s and going back even further. And you're going to have that person, that segment of people like that girl in Atlanta who is a works for a Trump organization that was set up and claimed that she was a teacher, but you can look at her and say she's not teaching anybody that I would have my kids go to.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't speak great English, any kind of form of English or anything. That probably really didn't really have a job, but she is paid by Trump, and they set it up. They set it up, and they put all the actors out there, and he's done that throughout his whole political career, especially with this organization, Blacks for Trump, that are on the payroll, that are flown around the country to show up and wear those T-shirts and nod their heads like they approve what he has done, doing, and what he's going to do to us. And so we still have to call it out, and instead of using the word falsehoods, just come out and say they are lies. Mm-hmm. That's all they do is, and he does, is lie.
Yeah, and we need to tell those stories. Like I have a story here about immigration. Now I saw a panel of Black folks talking, and they're prominent now. But this one lady that was the head of the panel, she's from Jamaica. She came here from Jamaica at 14, and now she's 30. She's still an immigrant. She's a lawyer. She was able to get an education here and become a lawyer, but she still hasn't got. She's still not a U.S. citizen. She still can't vote. And she said the worst time, when you're an immigrant, even if you're a lawyer or whatever, there's certain things you have to continuously do, like report in, a certain thing every year. Because I had a classmate of mine, and she was on our show. You remember the one that she was adoptee from Korea?
Yes.
And but she was still, even though she was adopted by a Black family, she was still considered an immigrant. And to this day, she still has late into her life, she's now a citizen. But when she was at Union with us, she had to report every year, but she was doing everything that anybody else could do. But she still had that label. So you get those things, those talking points from the other side about immigrants and how bad that is. But we have people right here that are immigrants and still fighting to be U.S. citizens, but are contributing every day. You can't be more of a contributor to society than being an attorney. And she picked being a public defender. So she's out there defending people. But at 30, she still is considered an immigrant from Jamaica. And those stories like that don't get out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just unbalanced, stories from the Republicans about how bad immigration is. But
and then, James, when you look at what the work that the work that they tend to do, it's usually work that Americans don't want to do. I mean, they're out there picking those vegetables. They're out there working on those bridges overnight. They're out there doing all types of work that really many Americans try to stray away from. And people like that man who used to be president, all of his golf courses and everything, he hired so-called illegal immigrants to work those places for him. He's always had them under hire, working in his restaurants and his hotels, working his golf course. And as long as it's convenient for him. And look at him. He's married. Every woman he's married has been an immigrant, and it's amazing how he can talk about immigrants when every woman he has been married to has been an immigrant, so it's only when it meets his needs that it's okay to be an immigrant. Other than that, then you're a disgusting human being who's out here bringing germs and diseases to America. But yet and still, America really could not exist as it is now without the work of the immigrants.
Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned dirt and disease. Now, why would we even think about putting somebody in the office that is responsible for killing 800,000 Americans
Yeah,
during the
yeah. Have
pandemic?
we forgot that? You don't
That
even hear that mentioned.
800,000 people he is responsible for the deaths.
That's right.
800,000. And so those who people are mourning around and go once a year, they go to the funeral, go to the cemetery to mourn their losses. And just think, Mr. Trump uh, actually murdered them. Might as well say, come out and say he's responsible for it and he caused their death by his inaction and inadequate actions and incompetence with the federal government. So it's just a shame. It is a shame. So if he gets back in office, what is he going to do in the next pandemic, which is going to come? He'll get his vaccine or whatever, but he'll get it before, he'll put those billion-dollar contracts out there so they can siphon off billions of the research dollars. And then if they come up with something, then he'll come out of his cocoon and get his shot while he tells everybody else, don't worry about it. Take that bleach IV or inject that bleach and it's going to work. He's just foolish and just crazy and a danger to our America. Now, I want to get one piece now that we're talking about the news. It looks like your Speaker of the House, who is a Republican, is not going to bring up aid for Ukraine.
Not. He's scared of Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, it's not. And then so why don't you want to support Ukraine, who is fighting the Russians? Every Russian that they kill is one Russian that we don't have to kill later on if they attack or when they attack one of the NATO countries. Why? Because you don't no longer care about national security. You no longer care about what we have stood for centuries now, for decades, since World War II, and after that we put NATO up and United Nations, NATO and everything. We have turned back everything just because your orange Jesus told you not to.
Yeah. And orange Jesus is right. Now, why would a Speaker of the House be buddy in pictures and photos and everything with a candidate that's running for president? The optics of that, but they don't care how it looks.
Yeah.
Who would do that politically? You Speak of the House, you should be at the House doing what you are charged to do. But you're going out with the candidate that's running for president, and it's obvious, like you said, Colonel, he's telling them what to do. And how is this stuff, like we always talk right in our face?
Yeah, well, he was one of the ones who was a part of that group who was going to bring in those false electors.
Yeah,
he was a part of the whole deal there.
Yeah, we knew what he was from the beginning. He's just playing it out like who he is, anyways. But my point is, who would do that? That's not a normal thing to do if you're a Speaker of the House. To be visiting a candidate.
Mm-hmm.
He's not president. He doesn't hold any kind of office. So what value? Well, we know what value it is, for him to. But as a speaker, what value would it be for you running around a candidate that's running for office that may or may not win? What's the advantage for you? Well, we know. So.
Mm-hmm.
But it is what it is.
It is what it is. It is shameful that you have a whole political party, especially in the House, and houses full of radical, I guess you can call it do nothing, and they're the worst Congress or House of Representatives ever in our nation's history. They have done nothing good for society, nothing, and all of them need to be voted out. But they're because of gerrymandering and some folks in these red states are just being too stupid, they'll be able to stay in office. Yes, they'll be able to stay in office.
And Leah, people need to pay attention too. You can see Trump and some of the other uh, Republicans that might be in line for office, running for Senate or something like that, kind of changing their position on abortion, because it looks like, you
Just
know,
read.
their position on abortion, the way it originally is not, the polls say it's not a popular way to be. So
Exactly.
now, like Trump is saying, well, it's up to the states,
And
sort of taking that off of him. But he,
that's true.
you got him on camera bragging about, he's responsible for ending the Roe versus Wade situation. But now they're trying to sort of ride the fence on that issue because it's not popular. But and I hope most people see through that. Don't change your vote, because he is anti-abortion. So that's who he is.
That is
Well,
true.
when you talk about anti-abortion, but it is it's anti-women's health care.
That's
Right.
what it is. I wish, yes.
Yeah, and that's the term, Colonel. You're right. That's the term that should be used more than the abortion. And, that just
Exactly.
puts it in one capsule. But the women's health care, that speaks to a lot of people, and it should resonate stronger than just the anti-abortion, because that
Exactly.
word can be thrown around,
Exactly.
Yep. Because one, it goes past about abortions. You see it in the IVF discussions. You see when they pass this national ban, then IVF will cease to exist. And so those families that wish to have a child that can't have one, that have benefited, and there's tens of thousands of them across the country, that right for bringing a family into this world will be eliminated. Just think about that. You won't have that right anymore. And that'll be taken away. And then it also trickles down to research and development.
Exactly.
Because there say for Alzheimer's and dementia, there's research out there that use stem cell research. All that stuff has been curtailed because they can't use stems. Federal government's precluded from using stem cells for that research, even though every researcher says that is the way to go. But federal government can't put money into it to fix that, to try to study it, to get to solve that problem. And it goes on and on and on. All types of research for cancer to heart disease, everything will be affected by what these right-wing MAGA people want to do. They just want to shut everything down. And case in point, they're not going to stop with women's health care. They want to go back, and they've already said they want to go back and look at gay rights. And they want to go back and look at interracial marriages.
And it's Clarence Thomas should look at that.
I know, but
that's an oxymoron right there.
Yeah, they will go back and look at it and make all that illegal over time, and they will look at all that stuff.
But look, given that right,
yeah,
giving that right back to the states, think about women that might have to go to another state to get an abortion, but certain states have that right to follow that woman to another state and charge her for doing that because she lives in that state. So even though she went to another state to do that, because she's a resident of the state, they can go after her because she had an abortion. What does that sound like? If a runaway slave goes away,
there you go. Exactly.
His owner can his owner in Virginia, and the slave goes to New York, where he's free, considered free. That slave owner could go from Virginia and get that slave
and bring him back
from New York and bring him back home, and that happens a lot. So it's almost like a form of slavery, I mean, and we're doing this to our women,
Well, 50% of the population of women in this country are already living behind the Confederate lines, and the Confederate lines are drawn by red states versus blue states. If you live in a red state, then with all these abortion laws and all these anti-women's health laws, then you are in one of those states, and if you get that abortion or need that care and have to go outside of the state to a what I call a free state, then like you say, there are some laws on the books that they will come out to get you. They're tamping it down right now about that, but after the election, when they take over things, then that person, that woman in that family won't be able to come and go across and get to a free state. One, if they pass this national ban, the whole country won't have that right. You'll have to go to Canada or Mexico or somewhere else. And how many people can afford that? And even if you did, that state attorney general would have you locked up, if they find out, locked up when you got back.
But you know what? Isn't it amazing how they want to stop women from not having kids, stop women from having kids, but yet and still, when a child is born, they don't want to do anything to help take care of those children.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they want women to have these babies, but they don't want to give them anything to take care of the needs of these children, especially the children whose parents are not able to give them the necessities of life. They don't even want to give the babies the necessities of life. You know, I want you to have these babies, but we're not going to take care of them once they get here. Once they get here, you can put them up for abortion, put them up for adoption. Look at the number of Black kids that are still waiting to be adopted. You know, adoption is not working as they would like for it, or to say that it works. Not that they like for it, but they say that it works. So you're gonna have a lot of kids who are born who have no one to care for them, and just not just getting the basic necessities of life because they're not going to provide it. So if an embryo is a child at the time that it is conceived, then that conceived embryo should be getting some type of care from the state.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you know, take care of them. You know, you want to take care of women's rights. You want them to have all these babies under adverse situations. Now, I'm not speaking for abortion, but look, women, little girls who've been raped by men, you know, and these little girls have to endure the pains of delivering a baby because they don't have the right to get rid of this, to take care of a situation that was imposed upon them against their will. You know, you have women who are raped. You have so many adverse situations to take care of. When are we going to do something about the men who are doing these things to these women? You know, maybe maybe somebody need to put some laws up here against the men. And then then we'll get a just society. But right now, all the laws are generated towards women. Take care of these men who are committing these offenses, you know. So yeah, let's get rid of Viagra from off the markets. Let's go and do another stuff. Take Viagra off the market, you know, take some of these men devices off the market to help them to create these children. And I think we'll have a difference then when you start focusing on the men as opposed to focusing on the women.
Let me give a shout out to Louis Bracy. He goes by Key West Lou, Sim Lap, and Dennis White, who on the line commenting. And it's interesting, something Dennis White said as we talk about sometime Margaret Taylor Greene, and we talk about calling out the people. He says he doesn't really blame her because we knew who she was. Blame the people in Georgia for putting her there in the first place and keeping her there, you know. And that's what we were talking about earlier, putting the blame at people who are responsible for some of these things, responsible for putting these people in office, because she couldn't have been that much different when she was running, you know, with her talking points than she is now, you know. So she had to be the same person when she was running when they elected her.
But you have to remember the district that she's from has been gerrymandered. There is filled with people who think the way that she thinks. So she will forever be representing them unless the district changes. The lines have been drawn to her favor. And many of those individuals who are in place, who are doing these asinine things, are individuals whose lines have been drawn that they're safe. They're safe in the districts in which they're represented.
Yeah. You're so correct, so correct, and it's just a shame, and it shows you. Well, actually, it goes back to discussion. You know, when we talk about this, the whole issue of rape and incest with women's health care, we shouldn't even be discussing those two. And those are two things out of the extreme, because one, it doesn't happen as frequent as what the Republicans say it is. So we shouldn't even address that. It just says it's either it's all or none. It's like physics. You know, we or Democrats don't want anything in the way of a woman's right to choose what she wants to do with her own body.
Exactly.
And with this thing with no exceptions or rape and incest, that shouldn't even be talked about. It's just, that's still a barrier with that, because you see down in Texas where they tried to put that in their legislation and they still couldn't get it through because one, and the little girl in Indiana that was raped, even though they have those laws there, she had to leave that red state and go to a blue state to get care. And the one in Texas had to do the same thing. At least those two folks, those two cases, they had money to get out of state and take care of their things. And so just talk about the hundreds of folks that are happening every day, cases are happening every day, that people, women that need health care, that don't have the means to get that health care. They're just stuck. Well, one, the Republicans want them to have, like Leah says, to have those babies. So if you have this baby out of wedlock and I don't give you any help, then statistics say basically that mother's chances of rising up in the economic and social and educational ladder is going to be turned and bend that curve down. So if I can keep you nice and dumb, or not as educated as what you could have been, or not as prosperous economically, which you could have been, then you are a prime MAGA voter in the future, because you can't think for yourself. You can't reason. You can't critical think for yourself. So you are a what? MAGA voter, or potential MAGA voter. What say you, Slim?
Yeah, I wanted to say something about Biden, because we always talk about what Trump isn't doing or what he is, and maybe sometime we should talk about some of the things that Biden is doing, and it's on them too to get those messages out. Because even with Biden doing these student loan reliefs, he's being fought in Congress, but he's finding ways as by executive order or whichever way, he's finding ways to still do it, even though the Congress is not, cooperating with him. And as far as messaging, maybe have some of those people that had a $100,000 loan or $300,000 student loan that's all of a sudden forgiven. You know how significant that is on your life. That long, because you can even talk about doctors that, and that's why sometimes they start out so slow as far as their economics position, because they have those loans to pay back, and it takes a while, and some of them it takes 20 years to get those loans paid back. And I think one of the reasons they try to forgive those loans, because once they get out there, they're contributing so much to society, and the money they make, they put back into society. So why have them burdened by these loans that take them 20 some years to pay. And if they don't pay, it messes up their credit and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, that's a big thing. It's a lot of other things he does that, you know, I guess if you're watching certain media outlets, you see it, but it should be more of a message of getting out things where he does along, because every day you pick up, you're going to see Trump's face, probably more than Biden's face. And that's why some of those messages don't get out there. And some of the people that might have a little sense, you know, that's all they see is Trump and thinks that he's the one that's their savior as far as giving them that little $600 check or whatever. But get the Biden message out there a little bit more. And I guess we can talk about it as we dig deeper and learn about all these things he's done, because it's a long list of things
and
that he's
especially
doing
infrastructure,
and
the
has done
infrastructure,
that's not
infrastructure
talked
that-
about as
Yes.
much, because we concentrate, and we need to concentrate on giving you the facts about Trump and his lies. That needs to be talked over and over again, maybe sink into somebody's head. But along with that, you know, let's get that Biden message out there.
And you have to look at our infrastructure. Look at all of the ways in which these bridges are reinforced. And we need these bridges reinforced. If nothing else tell you anything, that bridge in Baltimore, which I've gone across many times, our bridges, they need to be reinforced. The roadway needs to be repaired. You know, our infrastructure is being repaired on a daily basis. There's not many cities you can go into and not see some construction going on within those cities. So, as you said, James, there's some great things that are being done, and it's important to get the message out so that people can see exactly and understand exactly what's taking place. Yeah, the economy may not be showing us all that we want to see. You know, maybe gas is still a little high. Maybe we're paying a little more for food, you know, but still, when you look at the entire picture, there's so much more taking place now in America than has taken place in quite some time. So.
Leah, you mentioned about the economy, and I'll just throw this in right quick. And it was Virginia Beach. I was at Virginia Beach, Lynn Haven Mall, and I mean, it was packed. And I'm looking at that, and I say, okay, these people are saying they can't do this, they can't do this. The mall was packed, and as a matter of fact, I was at a Walmart in Virginia Beach, and somebody looked at me and said, "I know you from Portsmouth Coffee Talk." This was in Virginia Beach. Somebody in Virginia Beach. Granted, she's from Portsmouth, but she lives in Virginia Beach now. I just had to throw that in and let you know people are watching us, and we appreciate that.
James, James, and wait a minute. And as you throw that in, at the gala that I went to the other night,
oh yeah,
the Vice Mayor Gray was there. He'd been on Portsmouth Coffee Talk. Tina Vick had been on Portsmouth Coffee Talk.
Vic,
And a number of other people who were there saying, you know, oh, you may not see my name up there, but I watch you all daily. You know, so people are watching, James. Whether we see the numbers or not, they're watching.
Yes.
That's why our message is important. Yeah.
Well, you know, and I'll go back and when Leah said, had a statement, I think, and I'll paraphrase, the economy is not like it everybody would want it to be. But we really have a great economy. It is humming along with the statistics. We have record low unemployment. If you want a job, you can get a job. We can't hire enough people because a lot of people don't want to work. And the wages are going up. And if you look at it, people say, I can't buy a house now because of the interest rates. These high interest, what they call high interest rates. But look at why we're historically, prior to the first banking crisis, when they started lowering the rates to keep the economy chugging along, these rates are at a historical level where they're supposed to be. But we have forgotten why. How did we get to this point?
Exactly.
And they think that Mr. Trump's going to come in here and lower these rates. And if they did lower the rates, then inflation would kick up even higher than what it is. Because Trump has no solutions to anything. And then so we have to do that. So the other piece that Slim talked about as far as the student loan forgiveness, You can look in the 2025 project that the Republicans are going to institute on day one. It is written in there that they are going to stop 100% of the loan forgiveness across this nation by the federal government, all of it. And you can go back and say, oh, how can they do that? Yes, he can do it. Because one, you can look at what he did to the first tour with Betsy DeVos and look at the percentage of, they had cut down loan forgiveness to down to 3% of what the Biden administration had been given, down to 3%.
Yeah.
Look it up.
Right quick. I'm looking at a comment from straight from our YouTube channel from Sean West. You put what at first? Okay, down here. He's saying, y'all the problem. Us black people are in the bottom of every category in the United States. Okay, Sean. We are the problem. Okay. Well, look, first of all, Sean, thanks for watching. We appreciate you watching on YouTube and commenting. And, we want all the comments, but, if you get a chance, expand on that. You're saying y'all the problem. Who is y'all? Y'all talking about black folks? And again, are you black or what's your ethnicity? What are you? Yeah, thanks, Leah. Just for the sake of knowing where your comments are coming from, so just explain yourself, and again, appreciate you watching and commenting. We want all comments, whether you're in favor of what we're saying or not, So thanks a lot. Shout out to Sean West. Appreciate you.
Well, thank you, Sean.
Oh, and let me ask this, and we're getting down to the hour, but as we come to the debates, what do y'all? How important do you think those debates are going to be? It's probably going to be a circus, with Trump involved.
I don't think Trump is going to debate anybody. I don't think it's going to be a debate. I really don't.
You think he'll do like he did Hillary? While she's talking, loom right behind her to intimidate her.
He didn't debate during the primary. I don't think he's going to debate at all. I really don't.
No, he talks like he wants it. He said, "I'm going to testify in all his trials," which he'll never do.
It never does.
Never does. And he says, "I want to debate Biden tomorrow." He is never going to debate. And if he did debate, you have to put something in there to where you have to be able to check him, to bleep him out with all his lies, right then and there. And so, yes. It's not going to happen.
Dennis White says debates are a waste. Clown show.
Yes.
And that's exactly what it will be. It would be a clown show.
Yeah. You just get up there and lie. And then you spend all your time trying to debunk all his lies. And he won't say anything correctly. And so
well, he have to fit the debates in between his trials,
exactly.
Which one of them starts today, and we'll, as that goes on, it'd be mostly trying to pick a jury. And so as that trial goes on, we'll have opportunity to talk about that. But let me, before we end, and I got to give kudos to the city of Portsmouth over the weekend with them recognizing players that started out with the Virginia Squires. There was the Iceman, George Gervin, Dr. J. Julius Irwin, Big Jimbo Egan's, Dave Twazik, who was a star at ODU but went on to play with the Squires and then at Portland where he won a ring, and Charlie Scott. And of course the Squires they played in 4 different locations: Richmond, Roanoke, Hampton, and the Scope. So all those cities had the opportunity all those years, but city of Portsmouth, leading into the PIT, put together, I think Tim Reed was involved with it, Tim Reed.
Right.
And put together, recognizing these guys that played during those times. I tried to get to Dr. J. I couldn't, just wanted a picture with him, but couldn't get to him because everybody was surrounding him. But I got some pictures with some other people, but it was an amazing event, and I think it was good because I don't think if Portsmouth had done it at this time, it might not have been done. I don't think any of the cities or anywhere in Virginia had they recognized, because that was significant when we had a team, the Virginia Squires, and the amount of players that came through there and played with the Virginia Squires and went on to become superstars in the NBA once the ABA folded. But it was a good event. It was packed in there, uh, and young and old. And most of the guys, I looked up on stage and saw most of those guys close to my age, little older than me, but around the same age. And I think I could take most of them on a one-on-one. You know,
Okay, James.
at the point they are now.
Mhm.
No, it was an amazing evening, and to see the citizens together and loving up on each other and just enjoying all of the good information that was given out at the event. It was truly, truly a great event for the city of Portsmouth. And as James says, leading up to the PIT, which will take place Wednesday through the 17th through the 20th. I think if I'm not mistaken, you get all 4 nights for $35, which is about the cheapest thing that you can do. So, go and support the PIT in Portsmouth, which will take place at Churchland High School.
Hmm.
Uh, so support the PIT.
You know, somebody asked me about will there ever be part of the PIT will ever be a women's part of it
They
where the
need to
women can
now,
come here
that's
and
for
show off.
sure.
One thing about the women college basketball players, most of them might not need the PIT because most of them s- play 4 or 5 years in college. They
Yeah, they do.
can't jump, you know, like a lot of the guys, and they're getting their attention now, so they might not need to have that showcase for because they're getting the eyes now. And like I said, they play 4 years, and you watch them develop, into what they are. So that's a for another conversation about the women's game compared to the men's game in college. What's going on there?
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
Any last comments? I just had to throw that in because think that was a good thing for Portsmouth to do. I think, you know, kind of put Portsmouth on the map, honoring these guys, bringing these guys to Portsmouth. And if you were at the Renaissance, and when we were leaving, Benay and I sat down at a table, in the hall, and didn't realize that the next table was George Gervin because they had changed out of their suits, and they were and George Gervin and Charlie Scott was sitting at the next table. Didn't realize it until we left, and I saw somebody had taken pictures with them. You know, but it was an
It was a
amazing
great
event.
evening. It was a
Yeah,
great evening in
yeah.
Portsmouth.
All right. Any
Yes.
last comments from the hosts? Yeah, as we go forward, continues to talk about the elections coming up, and of course we'll get into the local things, the local elections, and what's going on locally as we move forward. But any last comments?
Well, I want to go back to OJ and his checkered past and his checkered history. And yes, and he is celebrated by many for what he did on the football field, and he is celebrated for what Black folks thinks that yes, we most of us believe that yes, he did that, but he got away with it because he had great lawyers. But
Yeah,
with his celebrity, and he used Black folks during his time when he was in need. Uh,
Yeah.
what is his history for helping people of color during his lifetime? Ask yourself that. He's made millions. He had his NFL pension was $400,000 a year from the NFL. Plus, he had millions in his 401k plan that he had stashed aside. Has anybody seen that he's given, say, $1,000 or $10,000 or any money to a HBCU school anywhere during his lifetime? Did he use his celebrity to come down here and do a charity event at an HBCU school? Think
Yeah,
about
and
that.
no camps for, football camps or anything that I have seen of record. And
So,
yeah, and that's the thing, people, we had to realize afterwards. He just came to us when he needed us, and we circled the wagon and were on his side because he was black, and because of the situation like we talked about earlier, because we wanted to see some real justice, and he just happened to be the one that was in that position for us to see that. But
yeah,
it was after, that was over, we realized, man, this guy, what has he done before that?
yes,
He's, when he was at his prime in football, we didn't see any of that giving back or anything like that. So
yes.
we
Basically,
were just blindly, looking at that one fact. We wanted to see justice.
yes.
And like you
Remind,
said, Leo, after that
Rodney
beating up
King
your
situation.
Rodney King incident, we were hungry for some justice.
Exactly. Exactly.
well,
And
you
you're
know
right,
what?
Colonel. Nothing. He hasn't,
Done nothing.
no.
OJ, you can sum up his history and his life as, I'm not black, but I'm OJ Simpson.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
rest my case.
None of that to be talked about at his funeral about what he's done in the community. That
How
that
about
won't
that?
that won't come up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess I will end by thanking the Black Child Development Institute of Hampton Roads for a fabulous event on Saturday evening. Um, I was blessed to have been given the Community Service Award along with Raymond, Reamon, the young man who played professional football, and he was an athlete, and he has his own line now, City on My Chest, out of Newport News, as well as with City Councilwoman Tina Vick. It was a beautiful affair. Dr. Perry, although he had had a stroke, he was the guest speaker, and he gave his speech via a live Zoom video, and it was just a great event in which he reminded us that there's still a lot of work that has to be done, that we must help to teach our children to read. Most important than anything else, we need to engage our kids and our families in reading. The Black Child Development Institute, that's what they focus on, is trying to instill reading into our children as well as to the parents. Uh, Great event, great information from Dr. Perry, who has started over 5 schools in Connecticut and New York, I think it is. And most of those kids, all of the kids, 100% of his kids go on to a 4-year institution. Some of them first generation children going into a 4-year institution. So it really reflected on education and the importance of education. And it was truly an amazing event. Portsmouth was well represented, so well represented that Tina Vick's daughter says she's moving to Portsmouth because she liked the energy of the people in Portsmouth. So it was a great event on Saturday evening, and I was blessed to have been one of those who was honored at that event.
Well, congratulations, Leah. Well deserved. And I'd like to say I want to thank all the people that responded to our title, Toddler Time Child Development Show. I think that shows how interested people are in the education, starting with our young folks and bringing up. And the response was that from that show, people just, not just the numbers, but just people responding that have been a part of their children have been through the program and how important it is for. And we talked about this on previous shows, how important it is to start where some of the root causes may start in families with our young people. And if they don't get that education or that foundation early, they end up turning into something that'll be on the news that they like to
Exactly.
feature.
Exactly.
So thanks everybody for watching that, and we'll continue to follow our young people and the education of our young people, because that is our future. That is our future. And hopefully things can turn around. Can turn around as far as our young people and where they need to be when we no longer are here or can are able to carry on these messages we try to bring here on Portsmouth Coffee Talk. We appreciate you. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you. And it'll be this Thursday. We'll have a show on Alzheimer's, and I think it's going to be an important show because many of us, I think all of our families have had someone in the family that has suffered from that, and it's a terrible disease. And to see a family member, deteriorate right in front of your eyes, and even forget who you are, or who these people are, so the people coming on this Thursday there'll be a doctor that deals with that, and also a person that's a part of a study they're doing on Black people, because it's kind of prevalent in the Black community, in all the communities really. But they're trying to do studies and trying to figure out how we can fight this back, or have medications that will slow it down, because it's something. So be sure to join us Thursday for that important show about Alzheimer's. All right, thanks everybody. We'll see you next time, and y'all have a great week. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.